Quit eating, folks, 30 seconds to showtime. Grab your seat, leave your drinks to the bar. Hold your breath, put your hands together. We present Stanford Bay's finest star. Who has danced with the Mayor of Guinea? Who has dined with the Queen of Vermont? We trace the voyages of Sinbad. Corresponded with the men who can't live to be. C'est pas la même chose que la vache qui rit. La vache est pas mon ami.
And hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the G Spot. My name is Geoff with a G, and today we're talking with a really great performer, and I don't use that hyperbole lightly. Martika Daniels, aka Martika, the One Woman Stuntshow. How are you doing, Martika?
I am doing wonderful. A little tired, to be honest, but great. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you on as well. As a little aside, because I know I've talked to you about this a little bit the last time we chatted like this
Hmm.
elsewhere, but let the viewers know what's going on. So I met you initially at the 2017 Hootenanny, right? No,
It's
2018. 2018. I had to think about it because I've been to three and we didn't have one this past year. So it's like I go,
Yeah, I have
yeah.
to
So the
remember.
20, yeah. So the 2018. No, it had to have been 2018. No, it had to have been. Now I think about it, had to have been the 2018. And so you totally fucking killed it. And which, by the way, you can cuss, just so you're aware. Had a great time watching you, and then we were chatting. I think after the show, and one of the things I have is I have a blazer that has a bunch of buttons on it. And you saw my
Hmm.
blazer, you saw my buttons, and you go, "Hey, I've got one last button. Would you like it?" And I go, "Yes." I'm still on my jacket even to this day. This is actually all that happened was before I even thought about being a performer. I was just going to the show because I had friends performing and I needed some I need some headspace clearing, so that's why I went to it. And so since then, I've now amassed buttons from a lot of performers because I wear that jacket anytime I perform, so that way I'm always performing with you guys. So it's right there. So you're always there with me when I perform it. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's so cool. I still haven't gotten any more buttons since then, so that was literally the last button.
that's
For a
that's
long time,
amazing. That's even a
if
better
not ever.
story. Yeah, that's a better story. I love that even more.
Yeah, I'm not good with
It's
merch, so.
yeah, no, it's no, I appreciate that so much. That's like I always appreciate it. You took the time to chat with me. I was just some dude, and I'm still just some dude. And so I always appreciate it. Anybody talks to me, and
Yeah.
so I had a great like I really you had a lot of fun. Great, you had great presence, and so I had a really great time. Um, so for those people watching, Martika does this amazing one woman stunt show. I mean, it's pretty I mean, I would say that's pretty self-explanatory, but it's not because you do a lot of stuff, and you also you talk a lot in a good way, which I enjoy because you don't just go stunt, 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 stunt. You you take us on a journey, which I enjoy. A lot of the modern performers today tend to be very just stunt, 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 stunt. I'm just going talk to
I
me,
understand
and so I enjoy
it.
that.
Yeah. I understand why they do it. It's because nowadays people, their attention span is so short. They're used to going on TikTok or Instagram and getting their 60-minute of whatever, and it's constantly boom, 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 another video of something interesting or over the top. So in their mindset, they want to do the same thing on stage, but you can kind of do that and give it more padding to it because it doesn't devalue it. Sometimes it can bring the value of what you're doing up even more. So I understand the mentality behind it.
I get it. I just don't like
Hmm.
it. Just
Yeah.
that's to be honest. I just don't like it. And Hot Todd Lincoln's in the chat. So hello, Hot Todd Lincoln.
Hi, Todd.
We were just talking about you, kinda. Uh, so I know when I got started this thing, I didn't want to do the traditional interview questions, but what weirdly enough is like I've seen you perform, and I did do a Zoom production. I produced a Zoom interview that involved
Hmm.
you. Uh, but you guys were always fast friends. So I never knew how, like, it's like, I honestly, this is what I also know, not using it as a question, but so how exactly did you get started? Because it's a weird sort of thing to get involved with of doing this. Is
Yeah.
what drove you to be the one woman stunt show?
Um, well, that name specifically was more of just branding that I figured out down the line. But what I originally started as was just someone who was already a dancer and who already had experience, not necessarily on stage, but in the sports realm, performance type realm.
Yeah,
And I was looking to push myself further and find ways that I could make my dance just a little bit extra in some way. And I took up
yeah,
hula hoop dancing. And
okay,
from the hula hoop dancing world, I learned more about traditional circus and I learned about other art forms out there and continuing to want to push myself and learn new things. I swifted from hula hoops basically straight into sideshow. I went straight into glass walking, fire eating, and things such as that. And living in Kansas City, Missouri, there's basically, even to this day, it's been over a decade now that I've been doing this. There's still only about a handful of us who do a lot of sideshow professionally or even as a hobby, that community, if you want to call it a community, because it's so small. So that during that time frame, I had to do a lot of my own research, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding body mechanics in ways that I could be able to perform certain stunts. Like blockhead was a gateway for a lot of people,
hmm,
and from blockhead, fire eating and other things like I said, glass walking. And eventually it's like, okay, I'm really, you realize, and this is not something anyone or I'm advocating for, you should never teach yourself to do these kinds of things at home. But if you're determined enough, which most of us tend to be, and a lot of us tend to start that way, is more so self taught. And then eventually you get to meet more people, and eventually someone is kind enough to take you on as a mentor. Or you just bug them enough until they go crazy and they say, finally, fine, I'll help you. Not saying that's what I did or anything like that, or that you should do
uh
that.
huh. uh,
If you do
no,
it, I
that's
didn't tell you to do it.
yeah, no, do yeah, no, it's yes. If you're interested in getting into any sort of sideshow arts, yeah, please do. 95% of it, do not try on your own at home. Uh, yeah, but
Definitely.
you're talking, yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned that the fact is that Kansas City has a small sideshow community, like small, like in like one hand
Like
counting sort of small.
5 people, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Give
right
or
here,
take.
like what's it's weird. Like outside, I really like here in Texas,
Mhm.
where I live, like Houston's that way too. Like literally is like there's like Houston, fourth largest city in America, and like five sideshow people.
Mhm.
Austin only has a handful, and half of that handful are like all but retired, old grizzled like vets that
Oh,
go. Like I mean, Lizard Man lives out here. Joe Lifto lives out here. You got Black Scorpion, who sometimes performs, but he's gotten really into activism. So yeah, there's only a handful of other
mm,
people. So
mm,
it's like so yeah, it's unless you're living. Trying to think where you like New York or L.A. or like Vegas. Yeah, it is just a handful of people now. It's unfortunate, but
yeah.
luckily we have this sort of stuff, so people can kind of go. I'm thinking about doing this stuff. Great. Find a teacher. You don't have a teacher?
Yes.
Drop me a line. I can direct you to somebody. If you're into some of the stuff that Martika's into, if she has the time, she'll help you out, or at least direct you also to somebody to learn about that sort of stuff. I
I do.
don't know a lot, but I know a lot of people who know a lot. So that's usually I just kind of go that guy
Yeah.
or girl
Yes.
or them, whatever. So, but I definitely encourage people if
Yeah.
you're learning, just find somebody.
Mhm. And I think it's easier in 2021 to find someone than it was back when I was interested in it. And then even further back, it's always been really hard for people to reach out to other people or
Yeah,
communicate with them. And the more we utilize social media and the internet, as I wave my hands vaguely, like there's internet everywhere. The 5G. But
Right there.
yeah. It's like I'm pumped.
Yeah. All right.
But hmm
There we go. Sorry, you froze up for a second. So
oh, good. But
you're okay.
yeah, it's easier to find people and to connect with individuals than it was back in the day. So there's a lot of people who are being able to learn
All right, Martika, you're freezing up again.
swords falling and other things like that in okay. I changed my internet to a different one, my
Okay,
Wi-Fi.
we'll give
Let's
it a
see.
second. No problem.
Let's see if
So
it's
far, so
working.
good. So far, so good. But getting back, you need to learn. Lots easier to play. Like what you said is like it's a lot easier today. One place is the Great Southern Sideshow Hootenanny, which is where we met each other. Let's round that back because that's also a great resource to learn and how to do stuff. All about
Hmm.
this, that synergy. So yeah, you want to learn how? That's another place you can find out, or like stuff like sword swallow. Because I know you. Because so the stuff you can do. So we talked about glass walking.
Uh-huh.
I know you do the hula hooping, and I believe when you did hula hooping at the hoot, you did the barbed wire. Was it you who did the barbed wire, or was it Oh
Yeah,
Carolina, or
I
you both
do.
did?
So there's three people with dangerous hula hoops. There is you just said her name, Caroline. She
Oh
had
Carolina, yeah.
Carolina. She had the hula hoop that had nails around the inside,
Oh,
and
that's right, yeah.
there was Bazoo, the clown. No, it's not clown. The clune. I'm not
Yeah,
certain how
yeah,
you
yeah.
pronounce
No, yeah,
it.
he was doing like almost like a racket act with
Yes,
it. Yeah.
he had a tiny barbed wire hula hoop that was like the miniature size of my hoop. My hoop is a hoop you actually hula hoop with, and it's made of nothing but barbed wire,
Right.
and it's unaltered barbed wire. And I have since then graduated to using up to three hula hoops spinning at one time. My three barbed wire hula hoops while aiming for different targets. I'll have one person standing holding the my balloon target above their head, and then I'll have another person kneeling down, and another person off another angle. So it's like a little obstacle course of people. So I have to navigate the hula hoops while hitting the balloons, while also making sure I don't hit the people. But
That's amazing.
it's a lot of fun. It's so great to that I was able to bring that hula hooping that I had learned ages ago and then combined it with the barbed wire. And I just packed up all of my stuff because I'm going to a Renaissance festival this weekend to perform at. So my barbed wire and things are away, or I would show you my hoop. I'm so happy about
It's
it.
perfectly fine. I'm sure you'll send me a pic later. It's also fine. No, so which Renaissance Festival are you going to be like? Is it just a one-time stay, or are you going to be playing there for a bit?
It's only one weekend,
Oh,
and
okay,
it's the Nebraska Renaissance Festival. So it's the one that's at Bellevue Farm. There's two Nebraska Renaissance festivals, but
yeah, but
it
there's
is
one only running now. So,
yeah.
so if for some reason you happen to be near Nebraska and you catch this within the next couple of days, today being May 6th, uh,
Hmm.
go see Martika at the Renaissance Festival and go see her do some crazy stuff involving barbed wire hula hoops because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Uh,
fun.
yeah, a lot of sideshow people like I don't want to say moonlight because that's not the accurate thing. I would say more like they moonlight as sideshow people that but they're Renaissance people who happen to moonlight being sideshow people. Because a lot of people they really depend on that circuit, and it's good to
Mhm.
see that a lot of them are working again,
Yeah.
and as long as it's safe. Like here in Texas, like Paolo Garbanzo from out of South Carolina, I believe, is like he's a juggler and a bunch of stuff like that. He's performing at a place not far from me, and then like Lynx Kim, who was at that that hootenanny that we both met at, he's at one that's like 3 hours from me. So glad people are getting work again.
Yeah, the outdoor events are coming back as things are getting warmer in some states. So people, as soon as we could go outdoor, we're gonna get back to performing. So that's been really nice, and as well the vaccines coming out is helping. So I am optimistic. I know not a lot of people are, but I am quite optimistic about things.
I am cautiously optimistic, but it's a
Yeah.
lot. But there's a lot of. But I go if that big if, which has to come into play. And living in a southern state, it's a big fucking if. So it's just
I
uh,
should say I'm optimistic in that there's going to be alternatives. There's still virtual events, there's still
sure.
outdoor events. So I'm not saying that everything's going to be shining rainbows and perfect, but by the end of this year or fall or whatever. But I'm optimistic that we're in the right track to getting to the right spot.
Thank you, Hot Todd. I couldn't remember. I knew he was like from that. Yeah, Paolo Garbanzo is from Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. For some reason, I had in my head South Carolina, but it's the East Coast. I live in Texas. Anything outside of Texas is just not Texas. So I've been to Kansas City, Missouri before, so I know
Hmm.
where that is. I haven't been to the East Coast yet. That's coming soon. Um, so if you guys have anybody has any questions for Martika, drop them in the chat, or you have like a story you want to tell that involves her, that's fine. We're just going to talk about dumb stuff now before we talk about other stuff. But well, I know what we're not going to talk about a not dumb thing because I'm going to go and we're going to talk about it now. And we'll talk about it later. So like 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 we do here, like because of COVID, we all started getting into the sort of stuff. I went online doing these shows and stuff like that. But you figured out a way to also get yourself involved to keep talking to people, and so you started a podcast.
Hmm.
And there's also the tie-in because of who's in the chat. So let's talk about the podcast. I've heard part of one episode. I'm about to travel, so I have them downloaded. So I'm like hardcore going to be listening to them. I just went, okay, that's how it sounds. Oh wait, I'm about to travel. This would be a great thing for me to travel and listen to. So
Hmm.
I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil it. So let's talk.
Huh?
So let's talk about the podcast. So
Yeah.
what up? Uh,
Well, when you do listen to it, I'd love your feedback on how you think the audio quality sounds and everything. I'm still learning its whole new world of podcasting and
yeah,
editing audio, and all of that is something I've never done outside of making some promo reels for myself here and there.
yeah,
So it is a whole new venture, but it's been fun to do because I get to talk to a lot of people I've been wanting to talk to. So
yeah.
I have an excuse to talk to them for 2 hours. And it's interesting the things that we end up talking about. Like with Hot Todd Lincoln, we talked about, gosh, everything from gosh, I'm trying to remember it all because there was so much that we talked about. We talked about, you know, people in the community or in the circus performance world in general talk about gatekeeping and how they feel like people want to protect the craft, but then there is an issue with gatekeeping. So we kind of touched on that, like what is the difference? We feel like people don't really comprehend what the difference of the two are,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's what people are maybe trying to do, and they're not trying to necessarily keep you out of anything. Since speaking of reaching out and trying to talk to mentors and whatnot, some people may not be coming to you with the best intentions, and they may not be someone you want to even teach for a variety of reasons. uh, so
fair.
it's give and take, you know.
No, that's fair. Especially talking to people about the kayfabe and whatnot.
Yeah, but
And
rambling on, we talked about strongman acts and talking about performance theory in general when it comes to virtual world, and how do we make our acts look better, and how do we get volunteers on stage, and when you mess up and you maybe make a volunteer uncomfortable, or you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, how can you double back and make that better for their experience and for everyone else that's continued watching everything going down. So there was a lot that we covered.
No, no, it's sounds great. I can't wait as I'm on as when I do my travels, I'll be on a plane for a lot of time, and so that's my plan is to listen to the podcast, and I look forward to listening to it, especially with you, and because you talked with Todd. Who was the other guest you had
uh,
currently?
James Taylor,
Oh,
who's
that's
who.
right, Jane. Oh, that's only
Mhm.
2 hours. Really, that could have been like 10 years of stuff to talk with
It was a
James. So
lot of editing, to be honest.
that's like 3 or 4 episodes right there.
It turned out
So
to be two. And even when I was editing it, I was like, man, this may be longer than two, but I've got to try to keep some kind of standard going here, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I should just say out the window with the standard. Here's a 5 hour
well,
episode.
are you just do that? All right, cool. And 1 hour and one
Yeah,
hour. It's
that's
just like
basically what I
just
was
send
doing.
it and just it just do it that way. Yeah, no, I like James is on like James is like one of my like my go to like I at some point I'm gonna have him on here and like everybody just goes, well, how long are you gonna do the show? I go, well, I mean I'll talk to James like if we want to schedule an off time and just me and him talk for however long, I'm cool with that. Then I'll do that thing. I go, all right, cool. It's been an hour. Edit. Just do that, Mark. And then, like I had Chris Christ
Mhm.
from World of Wonder. I've had him on several times, and some people go, "Well, you know, he like is very like he doesn't want to say too much," and then suddenly he doesn't like him up to the point talking in the show. He goes, "Yeah, I just don't want to make sure people aren't talking along." And then the first time we did it was like almost 2 hours, and we could have gone longer if he felt up for it. But
Yeah.
but that's the same. Yeah, I'm sure James is the same way. Goes, I don't want to talk that long, and suddenly 5 hours later.
Yeah, you lose track of time, but it's a great experience, and I have some upcoming guests that I'm super excited to announce. Well, Keita St. Cyr, for example.
I love Keith. Well, yeah, Keith is a
Yeah.
good friend. So yeah,
Yeah, so that
yeah.
episode is coming up. There's the brides from the East Coast as well, that they're coming up. I have some other ones that are kind of in the woodwork that haven't come up, so I don't want to release those names, but I'm really super excited because it's another sword swallower, a woman sword swallower that I've been wanting to talk to for ages, for ages. So just
They're
dropping
not.
in.
They're not many. So
I know. So just pick a couple of names off the top of your head.
I have a couple in my head
I want
already.
to
You're like,
all of them, but
oh, you should. I mean, like you're talking like Juliet, talk to Wendy, talk to Ree, talk to all. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just off the top of my head. I mean, I know
Yeah,
Zoe also does it, and
I will say this is
Gigi.
who I have never met before in person, and I didn't even think she was going to answer my message at all. And I felt like, oh, I'm just a creeper on the internet sending her messages. Talk to me. Not like
Okay,
that, but
that.
not
No, okay,
exactly.
okay, that. Okay, then I think I know who you're talking about because I tried like I go that hoot alone. There's only one person, one name in that listing that wasn't at the hoot that we met at. So it also could be somebody I didn't even reference, so it's also fine. No, I look forward to it. I'm always a big fan of anytime people try to do a thing, and I try to help people like see look a thing, go see this thing, go listen to this thing. I mean, it's a podcast. You drive, you can always listen to it, so I definitely recommend it. And it's like you should, and it's me looking more look the audience also at you. You should listen to other podcasts, Martika. There's other podcasts I listen to. I mean, Orbex and
Oh
Pepper
yeah.
do a podcast. It's called Orbex and Pepper do a podcast. Uh,
I like that. Very easy to remember.
I know that's the idea, so I thought it was funny. And then just with the way the world is, I was talking to
Hmm.
somebody that somebody talked to me. Goes, what's going to happen when the world gets normal again? Are you still going to be doing these shows? I go, well, I went. This is part of the new normal now. Is like part of a performer, regardless whether or not you're in sideshow, burlesque, music, etc. Uh, Part of your repertoire is now online, not just your local venue stuff
Hmm.
because online helps you get booked elsewhere. So
Yeah.
that's
And there's so
so
many
that
people that you get to talk to and interact with that you wouldn't be able to unless it was in a virtual setting. Like I did, I think different three shows that were based by or hosted by Canadian based entertainers, and then I did some from I think it was like Texas or something at one point. There were so many different virtual shows all over the place.
yeah, I saw your show for the Clowns Kill Empires. I know that's the one. I know
Hmm.
you did one of those, which is Pickles LeVay, who is an alumni for the
Yeah,
show and a good friend. Um,
there
and
was.
I watched that show. I
uh,
like Clowns Kill Empires a lot, so that was a lot of fun.
There was the World's Busking Festival. They did 2 rounds of buskers from all over the world, and that was really cool to watch. They had buskers from South Africa, Brazil, just absolutely everywhere. Places that I doubt I'll be able to go because I'm broke, but be able to see them like, wow, someone from the Middle East was performing. He had this really cool rock and roll show, and he was doing all this really cool. What was it? It was like a guitar and something. I can't remember his name. Darn it! But it was so cool. There's so many different entertainers that's like I'm probably never gonna be able to meet you, and I would have never have known about you unless I had watched this show. So it's
It's
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the great thing about that's like the one good thing about COVID is that we as a world have gotten more connected through the internet because we
Mm-hmm.
had to. And so
Yeah. I hope we don't lose that. I think the accessibility of doing the virtual shows is so nice for individuals that I think it's always going to be a fallback plan, like a hybrid shows going forward. Do a live show and then have it also streaming. Maybe some venues may not like that idea because they're not getting the patrons coming in and spending money on drinks or food or whatever. But you can still charge people a ticket to go to the Zoom room and things like that.
also, so here in Austin we have a big drag scene and
Hmm.
they one of the shows which I think is on later tonight, weirdly enough, they have they put a camera on. They do live shows at the bar because the bar is open because Texas doesn't care. Um, I mean, the venue is nice and they make sure people are
Yeah.
masked up and everybody's safe, but it's one of those as a whole. We have an asshole governor. Um, but yeah, they have a camera that that you can watch a live show, watch this live drag show, but
Hmm.
there's audience members there local because I think they go, well, people who are watching are not local, so like whoever the owner, you said, if you're a good producer, you've established this rapport with your owner
Yeah.
to allow them to showcase stuff because you're going to go, these people aren't local anyways. You're losing nothing because
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, the dude from Norway isn't going to fly in to buy 2 drinks to see the show, so you lose nothing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you never know once everyone's back to traveling internationally, who knows? Maybe those people will be in town or want to come over and then come see your show in person in some
Yeah.
crazy you never know. So,
Or alternatively, somebody sees the show from elsewhere and they go, you know who I want? Like I'm putting a show here in Helsinki or Zimbabwe, or the person you talking from Africa, Zimbabwe. You go,
mhm.
hey, I saw that Martika. How can we get her here?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you
it's
look at it, that's the other good way to do it too.
yeah, I'm really curious to see how, after, like you're saying, after we're back to more stability, how it's going to affect things for the better, I hope.
Um, Regardless, everything it's changed. It's going to be changed. Nothing's going to go back the way it was. I mean,
Yeah, it's
not
and
fully.
yeah, it's going to be I, I I'm optimistic that people who were able to adapt to the situation will be able to use that knowledge to again adapt to the new world or whatever that may be.
and also help elevate those who, or at least help elevate those who, while maybe willing, just are unable to do so. I mean, I think, yeah, like, so, like, for like yourself and several other people who you adapted pretty well to the kind of the digital world, at least you made the attempt. That when the time comes, when the world gets kind of normal, helping out those people for one reason or another couldn't do so. Sometimes it's just ability, not 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 because they're kind of go. I'm not doing anything. Oh, going to go online. I'm done with performing. I'm just going to go work out in the shed, and I'm just going. Those are people. You know what? If you're not, this is art. You figure out how to make that shit work. That if you're just giving it up,
Yeah. I think there's some amazing hybrid options that will help amplify the art form and give
yeah,
it help it keep being relevant and getting the spotlight, in general. Like I recently came across Space Cowboy, and he was doing this cool art exhibit where he had actual paintings and then he had his phone or a person's phone that they could scan the painting and then the paintings would come alive, and it was so cool to see how they became animated. Like, wow, that's an amazing hybrid option. And I've seen magicians use phones and their magic effects as well, and it's really interesting to see how people are using technology. When I think about it in reference to the sideshow community, outside of like light up swords and light up props, there's not a lot as far as I've seen. I hope there's someone out there doing some things because I would like to know.
oh,
that,
I would too because
Mhm.
don't get me wrong. I like the history. I love the history. I talk about the history all the time.
Yeah.
But that's yeah. It's like it's kind of how do we access that sort of stuff to be better. That's a thing that we're charged as far as us to do better. So
Yeah. And I don't just think it's in a way we could see it as doing better, but it's just more so the traditional way isn't bad, and trying to adapt and innovate something different isn't any worse or offer or better or anything like that. I think they're two different animals, and everyone's talking about innovating, or at least it seems like lots of people want to in some way try to do something different or change things up, at least not just use stock lines continuously and
yeah.
change up hat lines or something. uh, so I think that's a route that could be cool for people to use in the sideshow community in some capacity, not necessarily in a way that it looks like a magic effect, but it's an actual stunt still.
Well, I mean, a lot of magic today, a lot of the stuff that people consider magic today, got its start from the sideshow. So it's still side. It's just a different sort of sideshow.
Mm.
Um, uh, but as far as utilizing modern stuff to make it work, like making a stunt, whether it's I'm trying to think of, no, I can't think of some really good stuff to make it worthwhile. Even it's like something having a little hammer, like a hammer thing on your phone to
Mhm.
use as an app to kind of go, look, a hammer with your phone or something, with the like blockhead or something. That's a thing to do, I guess. I
You
mean,
never know.
no.
People
So
do
yes,
things with like the Tesla coils and electricity. They could do electricity painting or something with it.
oh, that could be. Ooh,
I
yeah.
don't do
Actually,
Tesla coils, so I'll leave that up to other people.
yeah. Danny Borneo has one that I was really like. He offered me a sweet deal on it, but I had to go pick it up, and he lives in Florida,
Mm.
and
Oh,
so it's one of those. I go, ooh, but I have to go to Florida. Yeah, no, so no, I have a sister who lives in Florida, and plus he lives like an hour outside of Gibtown. So I go, well, I can go to Gibtown because I haven't been, and
I
I'm
was
still
just
thinking about
in
it.
Florida and it is insane down there. I did this airboat ride. It's like they don't really just have gators out there like that. I don't believe that. Which is, I don't know why I really thought that. I've lived in the Midwest for ages now, for a long time now, almost, I think, 20 years about. But either way, Midwest, we don't have a lot of water here. We don't have gators here. We don't, we've got catfish, really big catfish, but
Not the
it's
same
not,
thing.
they won't crawl on land and come at you. But either way, I did this. airboat ride, and it was wild. They take you into not quite the Everglades, but just out into this other area that's kind of next to the Everglades. I don't really know
Yeah.
how it works, but either way, they take you out there in this little airboat. There's no fencing, there's no netting, there's nothing to like stop you from falling out. And there's so many warnings on this airboat about here's all these numbers in case you get lost. I'm like, how would you get lost? You're right here. And like, well, if you fall out and I can't find you, like, why would you not be able to find me if I fall out? It just seems the conversation was really weird. It just made me thought that maybe there could be bodies out there potentially because the gators will get you. Either way, there's all these numbers that you have to take a picture before you even go out into the wilderness, and they tell you all these things about, well, if you have an emergency, I legally can't, I oh well, it's not my fault kind of thing. I was like, well, what if a gator gets me? It's like, you came out here. Like, what do you mean? But either way, we get on this boat, it takes you all the way out there. It's really fun to be on the boat, but he rolls up on this gator like as if it's just fine to be like basically like this. And he's telling us all these facts about gators, how fast they can jump and how fast they can swim and their bite pressure. And he just rolls up on this mom gator and her babies. You can see the gator babies just like chirping and running around. Or they don't run, they swim around. And it's just so adorable. But she's not adorable. She was just hissing and like slapping her tail around, and she's right next to the boat. I'm like, okay, well, if she gets in the boat, this is just how I die, I guess, because he's not going to help me. He made it abundantly clear to us with his signs and things. But I didn't die. I made it out alive. But the other thing was the hotel I was staying at. They have signs about gators and snakes. Like, don't get close to the lake. Don't swim in this lake. Swim in the pool. There's gators and snakes everywhere. Didn't believe it. I don't know why I didn't believe it. I just didn't think it was that bad, I should say. Not that they didn't have it. But every single night I went outside with my friends to walk around or go to the pool. There was a massive snakes on the ground. Multiple snakes
Yeah.
everywhere. What is happening in Florida? Are there gators everywhere too that I need to not walk around at night? It was a experience. I'm not necessarily afraid of snakes. I just don't like to accidentally step on a snake.
Well,
It's my
that's
biggest.
fair. Yeah, no, depending on the part of Florida you're in, then yeah, yeah, like gators and snakes, especially because in fact you said you're not far from the Everglades where you're staying at. Then yeah, there's snakes. You know what's even weirder is there are like boa constrictors and anacondas that now live in that lake,
I've heard about that.
because
And
because
it's absolutely ridiculous because I feel like people kind of downplay the magnitude of how many gators and snakes are just there, just out and about. And when I was there, it felt like I was constantly looking over my back to make sure that wrestling sound, I kept hearing wrestling sounds at night, and I would flash my light at it, and it's a snake. One snake we saw was the tail. We didn't see the head. The tail was like this big,
yeah,
about the size of a golf ball. I'm like, that the head on that thing's gotta be big.
yeah, that's about right. Yeah, my sister lives out in Florida, so yeah, whenever I go to visit her, yeah, there's almost always a conversation really quick about snakes and gators. Even though where she
Gosh.
lives at now, it's less likely, but still, it's one of those things that still it's still things that still happen. Can be further south you are on yeah, the Everglades is full of them. Weirdly on the Panhandle because you're not far from New Orleans and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
like the swamp areas, yeah, gators. They're crazier in the Everglades because there's like
Yeah,
they're the kings, and so like
like
you go at the
squirrels.
Everglades, yeah,
They're everywhere.
they're like squirrels.
I thought I should bring mace or something. I was like, is there gator mace? Is there, should I buy
uh,
that so I could walk around at night? And
you know, like the well, shark repellent does exist. I would think there probably is a gator repellent. I just don't know what that is. I never really looked into that. That might be a thing to look into.
maybe some
Hmm.
really good or terrible perfume. I don't know. I don't know what would make a gator angry or to
To run
shoot.
away, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think things make gators run away. I don't think that's a thing. I don't know. I, I'm
Well,
a,
it's
I don't
it's
know
getting
about
on
gator.
land. It's getting on land because they don't travel. Like like water, you're fucked by a gator if he decides he wants you.
They run
But if
fast
you're on
too.
land, you're a little easier because they can only run so much. So as long as you can go at least 20 yards, you're fine. It's the if you're in water, that's where you're screwed. So don't get in water around a gator.
Just so people know, watch out.
Watch out. Go to Florida. You got gators. You got snakes. You got weird Florida man. There's the Florida man with its weird ass meth stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you traveled to Florida and like right when I saw you go, I'm going to Florida, and like two news cycles down I go, Florida's opening everything up. And I'm going,
Oh, I didn't know
oh
that. I
yeah.
I didn't see that. It was still when I went down to Universal Studios. That was the only theme park I went to go check out,
Yeah.
and everyone was wearing masks, even in the park outside. They required it, so there was that. And then when in our hotel, you still had to wear a mask walking around in public places.
Well,
But maybe,
private businesses they still have that right, but the fact is, he goes, "Yep, we're fully opening. Everybody's allowed to open everything fully." And then was it like
oh,
DeSantis also said that nobody, no state business or they was not allowing any state business to have to require any proof of vaccination for doing anything within the thing. I'm just
hmm,
going, ooh,
okay,
wow. And I saw that. I was going, well, we'll see how that goes in 2 weeks. Because if it does okay, that's what's going to happen here in Texas. So, because,
yeah. I know there's in my state, at least, we never really had a mask mandate. Kansas City, there's only two really good cities in Missouri, St. Louis and Kansas City. And those two were like, mask mandate, we're going to get this together. But the whole state never really did anything. So it's like this weird, almost like you're going into a different universe of people's mindset. And as
oh,
soon as
yeah.
you leave the big cities, it's completely different. People don't wear masks. If you wear a mask, they kind of look at you funny. And they've had all sorts of comments people will make in passing about it. And it's like, you know what? I've got to come out to these. I don't have to, but I do go out to these rural areas in Kansas and Missouri to perform. And I still have in my contract, I'm going to follow the guidelines and blah, blah, blah. So the clients are full aware of when I'm getting there, what I'm going to do to protect myself and the other people that I work with outside of them. But I've been doing mainly outdoor events. I can't think of, I've had a couple of indoor events, but they were bars that have the this big plastic lining
Yeah.
in
That
front
big
of the bar.
plexiglass. Yeah.
We call it the snow globe. You can't see anyone out there, but they can see you in there.
Nah, yeah, no, yeah, well, here, so I live here in Austin,
Uh-huh.
where we've been sued by the state twice about the mask mandates because
Hmm.
Austin's really on board with it, and the state not so much. And like literally for like New Year's, the city goes, all right, cool, New Year's Eve, we're closing everything down at 9 p.m. because
Hmm.
we already know what people are gonna do because we have like 8,000 bars downtown. We're just gonna cut that off at
Hmm.
the head because we don't want a super spreader. And the state sued and won for us to remain open, like for everybody to remain open. I stayed home because I'm no dummy. Um, and
Hmm.
then when the governor says, "All right, cool, we're just getting rid of the mask mandates," uh, Austin goes, "Yeah, no, we're going to keep it up because in order to get rid of it, we have to be at stage. I think it's stage two is when we'll kind of relax stuff a lot more, but we have to get down to stage two before we even consider it." And the state sued us again.
Yeah.
This time lost. So, but yeah, it's like that weird
Yeah.
bastion of like just like you're saying, St. Louis and Kansas City are these bastions within the red. Austin's that way too. Dallas, kinda.
Hmm.
Houston, Houston doesn't give a fuck about anything. They're just gonna go. We're just gonna do whatever. We're blue, whatever. But like it's because we don't give a fuck. And so they never really closed anyway. So it's always been the Wild
Yeah.
West.
That's why we're never going to get to herd immunity because not enough people want to get their shots. And then there's the other half that still, even over a year, don't care.
Well, Houston, like has great vaccination numbers. They
Mm-hmm.
just don't want to be told they can't go do things. So they're happy
Mm.
to get a shot to do keep doing stuff. They just don't want to be told I can't do a thing. And so in that
Oh, I
respect, I'm going, okay, fine. At
well,
least you're willing to get the shot.
yeah, and still wear a mask or do stuff outside since it's warm enough to go outside and do things. Use all the other safe options that we learned about last year.
Well, it's the rule of threes. So as long as you do
Hmm.
at least two of the three things, everything's cool and groovy. One, remain
Hmm.
within 6 feet distance of everybody around you. Uh, Two, being masked up. Or three, being around people who's part of your quarantine pod or now is vaccinated.
Hmm.
And so as long as you at least do two of those three things, it's all cool and groovy. That just reminds me, the thing with that Florida is that they're reducing for any stuff like they're reducing everything from sorry, Universal. Maybe it was Universal. They're
Hmm.
reducing everything from 6 feet to 3 feet as far as distance.
Huh. Probably because they don't have a choice because there's a lot of people that were coming through.
It's that whole like yeah, that's there are some bars here in Austin and they went, well, we want to keep the
Mhm.
mask mandate, but the bar next to us isn't, and if we want to make any money, we got to
Hmm.
relax. So
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm really curious to see how the Renaissance Festival goes. I haven't done one since 2019 because everything just shut down so early in beginning of last year.
yeah.
But it's outside event, but I imagine there'll still be a decent amount of people that will come out because everything's been shut down. And when I went to Universal, I noticed that there is, well, I granted theme parks tend to just have a decent crowd there in general, but I feel like people are really craving interaction and performance art. So I wonder if the Renaissance Festival is going to have a great turnout and events that are happening will have a good turnout because of how many people are wanting that and assuming they follow all the rules that which of course people don't always do it to the T, but
Yeah.
you know sanitizing things, masking when you're close to people like you're saying, the 6 feet apart, all of that, then we can start doing some fun events like there's still driveway shows and things like that that are happening.
That's true. There's like the ones that are happening here that I've talked to people like the Renaissance things are happening here. Um, they're ticketed events that you have to buy online in advance. You can't walk up to the gate and get a ticket. So if you want to go to the
Yeah,
Renaissance Festival, you have to
can play
pre-buy your
around.
ticket.
Hmm.
So that helps. It also lets them, as the people doing the stuff, they can basically create a cap as far as, all right, cool, we're gonna like have these many tickets be released.
Hmm.
Um, like Texas Renaissance Festival happened first here in Texas, and that's exactly how they did. They go, all right, we're only allowing like 50% capacity, so that's X number of tickets we're gonna release for each day.
Hmm.
And they weren't. I'd say they weren't allowing overnight camping maybe at that time because it was still really early on. Now with the stuff happening now, I think it's a lot more relaxed ish, but still, I think it's still everything's online. You can't just walk up and buy shit. So which is
Yeah.
good. I think that's a good way to know.
Yeah, and it teaches people to get in the habit of buying tickets in advance and not waiting to the last second. So
Yeah, the
who
last thing
who
you want to do is
knows?
drive up. Yeah, the last thing you want to do is drive up and go, sorry, park's closed. Like Moose should have told you out front. Uh, All right, so we got about 10 minutes left, and it's such a great
Oh
chatting with
yes,
you and stuff. I know, really, yeah. So it's like no, we still got plenty. We still got time. I just like more that it's like, oh yeah, we still got 10 minutes,
yeah.
or we only got 10 minutes, I should say. Um, so everybody watching this, whether now or later, I appreciate
Hmm.
you regardless. Uh, you can see right underneath Martika, got her Instagram handle, which is at the Martika Show. Follow her. Gonna give her all her deets and dates as far as anything this guy's coming on, so you need to make sure and do
Hmm.
that. And then underneath that has the soundcloud.com/Martika-Daniels to make sure you get all those podcasts, those sweet, sweet, sweet podcasts. So
Yes.
you can learn about all the cool stuff. It's great. I encourage it 110%.
I know it's on just SoundCloud right now because I've learned somewhat recently that there's a long processing time with these things. So it's should be on iTunes soon, if not within the next couple of days. And I'm hoping to get it on Google Play and Spotify next. But you'll have to keep your eyes out on my social media because that's where I'll post when and where you can get it.
And once it becomes available, I'll make a note of it as well, so that way, because I like promoting the people, my
I
friends and stuff like that,
appreciate
people I
it.
like.
Thank
So
you.
I it's so like when I had Pickles on, we were chatting
Mhm.
about all stuff like that, and she just looked at me and goes, "You're like a weird curator of weirdos," and I go, "I'll take that. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what I
pretty,
am."
pretty accurate.
I go, I don't like, I do some stuff, but in the end, I just like talking to people, and I just know a lot of weird people. So it's that whole, I go, so here, a weirdo that you wanna know, and even for the, she, and if you don't know what's been on, she's been on the Devil's Hour, so I know you've seen this stuff, and you hadn't,
Hmm.
shame on you, for the viewers. Um, so. So we got the Renaissance Festival coming up. We got the podcast. You got anything else in the works going on?
Yeah, I also work with different libraries. I do my a very kid-friendly version of my One Woman Stun Show with clean jokes, and in that show, and different libraries I work with in the Midwest. So I have an upcoming solo tour uh, for Iowa and a couple of ones in Missouri, but some of these will be virtual. They'll be hybrid shows where they offer the show for free online. And I will come out to the library, or if it's a college or something like that, in their auditorium, and we stream it to the students in all of the community. But I do have the Turner Library that's coming up that's based in Kansas City. And I have a busking festival. This was kind of last minute. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'll be there at the end of this month. So for the people on the West Coast in Salt Lake City, you can see my busking version of my show. So I'll have my Renaissance thing coming up, slightly different versions of my One Woman Stunt show. So you can see the Renaissance if you want. You can see the kid show version if you want, or you can see the busking show version if you want, wherever you are in the world.
I cannot recommend Martika enough about seeing her show. I've only seen it live once, and I've seen a few
Hmm.
things online. So I definitely recommend everybody, you audience people watching this, whether now or later. So if you
Hmm.
get a chance to see her live, please do so. And if you can't, figure out where you can see her online, because she is definitely a worthwhile person to see these amazing stuff. Not a lot of people in general, regardless of gender, does a lot of things that she does, and that's what makes it
Hmm.
so cool. Or if they do, they do just one little portion of it. She does it all. That's what One Woman Stunt Show. You can see it above her head. That's what makes it worthwhile. It's cool.
Bad lighting.
So yeah, no, it's fine. So yeah,
But it's Oh, I was just going to say the show gets a little bit better every year, and that comes from being able to talk to people like you. I always still check in with Harley Newman continuously. He's always a joy to talk with, and just so many other individuals that I get to bounce off, performance ideas and performance theory, just talking about it in general. And that's what I love doing because I think it helps us learn and grow a little bit more through each other's experiences.
oh, Harley is such a treasure. At some point, I'm going to be having him
Mhm.
on the show, because I just want to.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he's going to be one of those type of people. I'm going to bring him on and talk, and like it's going to be like 4 hours later, and I go, oh yeah, So if people are
Oops.
still on the show watching, this is Harley. Like no, I chatted with him a little bit. We like the last Give a Hoot show we did produced was kind of like it
Mhm.
was like a lot of it was the students of Harley, and then had his stuff kind of intermixed, and he popped on for the after show, and so I had a great time chatting with him then, and we like really bonded over storytelling. So that's what I want to talk to him about is like storytelling.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
uh, that's really what I'm into. So that's really great. That yeah, Harley's such a great resource for a lot of people in the sideshow. Now
Hmm.
he's the person you don't ever like. It's one of those, he's a guy to talk to about it, or but be referred to. He has to get if you want to get with Harley. Somebody's got to refer you to him. I think.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, there is that. But
because
he has his own vetting system down with all of his years of experience, and I feel like he knows if you're someone who's got it or who doesn't.
no, no. It's so yes. So West Coasters go to Salt Lake City this
Hmm.
year at the Busking Festival. Midwesterners, you're going to be out this weekend. Go to Nebraska. I don't care where
Yeah.
you live. You can be in Illinois. Drive to Nebraska and
Yeah.
go see Martika because that's it. She's amazing. And then follow her social media at the Martika Show on Instagram, so that way you can see what other stuff she's going on. I believe it's the martikashow.com for your website, correct?
That is correct. I try to keep it very easy across the board.
I remember. So yeah, so that way that might help you with dates as far as everybody watching too.
Yeah.
Now let me get a little my housekeeping out of the way. Then we're gonna cut out of here because other stuff's happening here on the channel right after this one, which is gonna be cool stuff. So right after us, we got Hit Random, which is my weird shit from the internet show. It's gonna be broadcast right after this. Um, then on Monday, myself and Scabs the Clown for Gaffing the Truth. Gaffing the Truth basically is we talk about
Hmm.
mysteries, conspiracies, cryptids, weird shit.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so because Mother's Day is Sunday, so if you didn't remember, you still have a chance to get flowers for your mother. Uh, we're going to talk about mummies on Gaffing the Truth. So we're
Oh.
talking about mummies. So yeah, hey. Uh, And then on Wednesday, I've got another edition of the Devil's Hour right here on the channel at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Planet Lisdom is going to be right at before that, and Planet Lisdom is a Liz Savoye from Canada has a show as well, and so she broadcasts here on the Carney Show. So thank you so much for being a part of the show, Martika. I greatly appreciate it. I know you flew in and exhausted. I'm glad we had a conversation. Uh, Everybody, please make sure you subscribe and follow on SoundCloud or when the other things are available. You know what? Subscribe there too. Dude, doesn't you can be subscribed on
Man.
multiple fast ads. It helps her numbers, which is also good because the better numbers she gets, eventually she may get those sweet, sweet ad dollars, which is what we
You
all really
never
want. So,
know.
yeah. So yeah, like literally, like everybody's podcast I like is on multiple formats. I subscribe on all the formats. I may not listen on all the formats, but I'm subscribed in all the formats. So
Yeah.
once it becomes available in all the things, I'll be
Still helps.
subscribed in all the things. So I alternate, so it changes up. So like this month I'll be here. This month, like that sort of
Mhm.
thing. So yeah, definitely tune in and watch that stuff. So everybody, be safe, be cool, be groovy, and as always, keep drinking, everybody. Good night.